Welcome to the second annual Tour de Cedars. To protect our homeowners and patrons this year, we have produced an online version of our popular event. Our goal is to showcase Cedar Edge's finest homes and raise funds for the Grand Mesa Arts and Events Center. The 4 homes and gardens featured on the video reveal the creativity and imagination of talented homeowners. One's home is one's art on a large canvas. We are most grateful to David Jacobson and Phil Berghauser for the production of this video. David, a Paonia resident, brings a background in video production in San Francisco to the project. Phil, Cedar Edge's own resident professional photographer, offered his expertise in drone and still photography. We also want to express sincere gratitude to our sponsors: Benson Brothers Aggregate, Cedar Edge Land Company, Deer Creek Village Realty, Heritage Title Company, Mock Lyles Real Estate Group, Janice Jones, Remax Mountain West, Greg and Christy Stratman, Remax Mountain West, Casabella Homes, Safeway of Delta, and Stars Guitars. We know you will enjoy meeting the homeowners and hearing stories about their families and their homes. First, we will leave the Grand Mesa Arts and Events Center and head out West Main Street to the historic home of Charlene and Dick Hamilton. As you drive down Bull Mesa Road, please be sure to notice Dick's lush vineyards and hayfields on the left. He is proud to sell his Riesling and Gewürztraminer grapes to Williams Cellars in Cedar Edge.
Well, we lived in Arvada, had 3 acres over there and had some sheep. And then all the housing developments started coming. So we tried to find some place away, and I was looking at a fence post magazine. And there was the ad for the house in there. And I told Dick, let's look at it. We didn't know where Cedar Edge was. We knew where Delta was. So we came over here and looked at it then, because he always wanted to restore a barn. And people didn't care we were coming, they just wanted to know what we were going to do with the barn. They didn't say, well, how are you, or we're happy to meet you, what are you going to do with the barn? They didn't.
Are you going to tear the barn down and use the barn wood and sell it? And said, no, we bought the place because we wanted to restore an old barn.
And that's the first thing that happened. We bought this 3 years before we actually moved over here. We moved over here on New Year's Eve, 1999, because I said I want to live in Cedar Edge one day, because the world was supposed to fall apart in 2000. So that's how we found it. Just in the fence post magazine. The kitchen was tiny. There was no dishwasher. It's not a woman's dream kitchen. But Dick said, we can take care of that. So that part of the house is new. And because the other was falling down really. It had had a fire in the attic at one time, and it was basically falling down. So they said, tear it off. So we tore it off, and that whole area over there is new, but it's made to look like this part of the house.
There was absolutely no landscaping around this house whatsoever. There used to be a bunch of cottonwood trees along the driveway that you came up that were very, very large, and you can still see the stumps of one of them. The stumps are this big around. And parts of one of them are out there by where our sheep pen is, are still out there. They got cut down, or probably fell down. That was the only landscaping around here, was just up the driveway. Nothing else. It was just all dirt around here. No bushes, no trees, no grass. So all the landscaping that's in here we put in since we've been here. But I rototilled up the whole area in here and laid sod down. I put 14 pallets of sod down. I take them Usually on a weekend I go up and get 2 pallets and put them down because they have to be really soaked in to get them to take. But I did that just weekend after weekend until I got 14 pallets worth down.
That wasn't a you, that was a we.
We did that, yeah. The 2-story part of this house was built in 1886. And the kitchen part that was over there was probably built around in the 40s or 50s. Very poor construction. The floors were like this. The electrical, the plumbing was not to code. The propane heater for the house was down in the basement, which is illegal. So all that whole wing was just torn off of there. And then we dug a hole underneath that and put a basement over there. Because this thing didn't have a basement. It just has a crawl space under it. So we have a basement over there, and then we put a new wing on there. But when we had the guys that were putting the woodwork around the doors and stuff, I said, I'm going to make this an easy job for you. Just make everything just like it is over here. Just copy what's here and put it over there, which is what they did. So all the woodwork in there with the big tall baseboards in it, and the stuff around all the doors and windows are the same over there as it is over here. The doors are the same. The hinges are the same as they are over here. So we wanted to restore it so it looked like it belonged to this part of the house. So that's what we did. We just started one room at a time restoring it. We started in that room right in there. And then we went up and did some up in the upstairs. And then in '05, we tore that wing, tore the kitchen part off and rebuilt that part over there. Put a bedroom on the other end of that thing, which we didn't have before. The bedrooms are all upstairs here.
And we're getting old.
So
Go up and down those steps.
These days, we're going to wish we had a bedroom on the first floor. So we put that over there.
We have a friend that is a decorator. We met her just by God's grace a long time ago, but she just comes out and she starts pulling stuff out of drawers and saying it goes here, it goes there, and that's where it is. There's nothing that we really bought that was expensive or anything. It was all stuff we had.
Yeah, and all the colors that are in here were her recommendations of what colors might have been in here at the turn of the century. And we bought the rug in here. We bought that because it looked like it might have been something that was put in at the turn of the century. So we just started looking around for stuff and restoring. We took all the woodwork off. Every room we went into, we took all the woodwork off, and I marked it on the back so I could put it back in the right place. Sanded it all down, restained it, put it all back up where it was before. The light that's in that room in there and the one in the living room are original to the house. And the one that's in here is a reproduction so that it looks like those in there, but there's a company that's making reproduction lights, and that one is like the one that's in the living room. So we put that in there, so 2 of the lights are original and the other one looks like the ones that ought to be in here. Notice over by the door, there's those push button light switches. That was original to the house. And these dormers like this are up here, are unique to the house. There's one here and then there's one over the house. That was their air conditioning. That's how they control the heat and the cold in the house. If you look out, as we go upstairs, right at the top of the stairs there's a tank up there, which is the tank that they finally used when they got water into the house, which it didn't have originally. And so they had a cistern, or they had a water line that they ran up about a quarter of a mile up the creek and tapped into some water somehow and got that water to come down here, and it would come down, it would go and fill up that tank upstairs. And when that tank got full, there was an overflow that would go back outside. interesting part of this house is when this house was built, that fireplace right there was the only heat in the house. It's in the middle, this is in the middle of the house, so the chimney is directly in the middle of this square. So this is dead center in the middle of the house, and when that was heated up, it would heat this room, and it would heat around over there as well, and that's all they had for heat in this house. Sometime, and we don't know what the date was, but somebody went to the back side of this chimney and put a hole back there and put a vent back there and put a stove. There's a potbelly stove that's right around the corner. And we burn that all winter long, and that will heat upstairs and heat the whole upstairs. There's no other heat up there besides what goes up the stairs. But we took that 15 by 15 and we added another 15 feet to it. And then we put a foundation down there and put a floor down there. And then we cut the wall loose that was there and slid the wall out to the other end. So now it's 15 by 30. But the original wall that was there is still there. It's just been moved over. And we put a bathroom out there. It's got a shower and a sink and a stool. So now that's a guest house. So when somebody comes to stay here, well, they got their own room and they got their own bathroom and everything. But my office is out there, and that's also where I practice my guitars, out there in that building.
And you'd even have the wood milled, the new wood milled exactly like the old wood, so that it looked.
Yeah.
Any wood we had to replace on the house was milled, and on the bunkhouse it was all milled to look just like the original.
The barn that's out there, when we bought this place, that barn was falling down. It was terribly sway-backed, and the posts on the north side were leaning about 10 degrees to the north, and so the roof was starting to sag down in there. That was the first project that I did, was to get that barn restored before it would fall down. And I thought I was going to have to get scaffolding in there and jack the thing back up to fix it. But we found a better way to fix it without having to have scaffolding in there. And so we had cables crisscrossing in there. And then I'd get up there and I would just pull on those cables with a come along, and I'd pull them and it would pull the thing back up here without pulling this side over. This side was straight, this side was crooked. So I would just jack this up and pull these things over, because they were pulling from down at the bottom when I pulled on them, not to the top. And I got that thing straight to do that. When I did that, it actually pushed the roof right back up where it belonged. So I've got that thing restored for another 100 years. There's still some cosmetics that needs to be done on it to replace some of the wood that's rotted away over the years. But structurally, the thing is very sound now.
We tried to maintain the integrity of the house, is what we tried to do. And it's been a joy. It's too bad we got old so quick, because now it's becoming a chore. I mean, it's getting harder to keep it clean and stuff like that, but it was a joyous 22 years or 23 years it's been. So I'd tell anybody to do it. You can always call people to help you. There's a lot of people in this area that are more than willing to come and help you or tell you who can do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'd do it again. In fact, I wish it was 20 years ago and we could start over, because we had so much fun here when we were young and really able to do it.
After a step back in time, we circle around to the new Cedar Edge, an open concept, glass and stucco home in a rural setting. Designed by an artist to showcase her own art and her collections, Amy Daniels' home is truly an artist's palette.
And we looked for about 2 years. I learned places in Cedar Edge I'd never known before. So at the same time, we were sort of looking for property. And then this place came, these two pieces of property, this one in particular, had a for sale sign on it. It's very rare to see for sale signs in this neighborhood. Old established neighborhood, started in the late 60s, early 70s. My neighbor and her husband built their house in '73 themselves, so they've been here a while. I had been in a very round house. The logs are round and stones are round. We had a beautiful stone fireplace, river rock stone, which we loved at the time, and I would still love to have a second house like that. But it was all very round and voluptuous, and I was entering this kind of stage in my life. I wanted to live in an art gallery because we had all this beautiful art we'd been collecting for 40 years. And also I was painting now prolifically. So I wanted a place to be able to hang my art. So I wanted flat walls, I wanted right angles, I didn't want any bull noses anywhere. So I took the plans and took some white out and just played with it for a while, and then took it to Matt. He's the contractor, she's the designer. So we broke ground June 2017, and I told him I throw great Christmas and New Year's Eve parties, so I would like to be able to be in the house by then. But you know how construction is. So anyway, it went pretty smoothly. I'll have to say we were in a rental by then. We'd sold the ranch, and we moved into a rental here in Cedar Edge. It was only, I don't know, 3 miles away. So I was here, I would say virtually every day. Okay, so the kitchen. So when I met Morty, his family had history in restaurants. And it was just when Food Network was sort of taking off, or I guess it wouldn't have been, we met in the 70s. But we were both very interested in cooking, and we were both very interested in restaurants. And in fact, we bought a restaurant in Mammoth and moved from LA to Mammoth Lakes, California, and ran an Italian restaurant for a while. So we always had that sort of in our background. And wherever I was able, I built my own kitchen, and they were always big enough that 4 or 5 people could be in, because that's the beauty of a kitchen. You know, you don't want to be the only one sitting in the kitchen cooking. You want to be next to your husband or your son or, you know, your daughter or sister or whatever. It's in our blood, and I just love cooking. I'm half Italian, half Greek, so if that's the last place I end up, if I die in my kitchen, I'll be very happy. I knew in a new house that I would want a designated room for a studio. So when we found this property and we figured out how we were going to orient the house, I knew I wanted that northeast corner because that's the best light for artists. And so that's why Morty got the view in his office, but I got the light. And it turned out perfectly. It's big enough, you know, in a perfect world, another 20 square feet would be fine, but I configured the closet. I didn't put any doors on it, and I made shelves instead of what you would do for clothes. So now I have all that storage in there that I use, and it works perfectly for me. Currently I have 2 easels up, and I have room for another one if I want. And I can come out here and put my easel up in plein air right on my own deck. You know, I don't have to go anywhere. So the studio turned out great. I wanted it all open and airy. My mantra for this house was open and airy. As many windows as you can give me, as many transoms as you can give me, as much light as you can give me. That's why I have glass shelves, and that's why I put a light at the top, because I wanted to put the things that were precious to me in there so I could see them every day. And at night, especially in the winter because it gets dark so early, you know, this room is beautiful with all the ambient light. And I'm a lamp girl. I'm not a pocket light or whatever you call can light girl. I made them take them all out except for a few because I think it popped the ceiling, and I still never turned them on. I used all these lights to light the room. So, and we had a great room at the ranch, so I understood the concept. So all I had to do was lay it out properly, and where it worked for us. You know, I guess in a perfect world, you'd want to be looking at the view, but having grown up in TV, I'm a TV junkie, so that's where it went. And the fireplace, we had a wood burning stove, so I said, no more of that, no more ashes, no more lugging wood, no more buying wood, no more stacking wood. So it turns on with a remote control. And same with the fans. And I tried to duplicate everything, because the more things you have that are different in a house, the more, at least for me, the more confusing it got. So all the cabinets are all the same. the gray ones, I got them all at the same place. All the countertops except for the Carrara marble in here are all the same. All the pulls are all the same because it just made it easier, and then it's cohesive. The house looks like it belongs together. A master bedroom, I mean, you have to have one. And it was sort of, it's just the room that goes. I was more obsessed with the bathroom, to tell you the truth. I didn't really care about the master bedroom. It just needed to hold a bed and have a nice view and have a couple pieces of furniture so you don't always have to sit in bed if you want to sit in there and read instead of in here. So the greatest thing about the master bedroom for me is the view. I can sit in my bed and look at the Grand Mesa, and I watch weather come up because that's where the weather comes from here, the southwest. So that's what I love about the master bedroom. And also it's got French doors out to my own little coffee patio or wine patio. But the master bathroom, I had more fun with that. I wanted everything. I wanted a soaker tub. I wanted a steam shower. I wanted a water closet so I didn't have to walk in my bathroom and look at a toilet. And the double vanity and a floating vanity because then it makes the room look bigger. And I wanted the pebbles on the floor so the shower felt like a spa. And that's what and I have a picture window in there. And I also have a cutout between the two rooms, the master and the bath, that has a little propane burning fireplace in it. So I can sit in my tub with a glass of wine, look at the Grand Mesa, and have a fireplace. That's what I wanted. The outside of the house was pretty much dictated by the fact that we had lived on 70 acres and we didn't want to do any work. And I love my flowers, I love my plants, but I did want to do a goodly amount with xeriscape. But I do love my trees, and when we bought this property, there were only 2 trees on the property. So since we moved in, I think I've planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, about 10 trees, and I'm planning on planting at least 5 or 6 more. I'm still figuring out what to plant, what not to plant, adding a couple things, but mostly it's grasses and Russian sage and lavender. My front door is purple, so I like to plant purple plants and flowers, and they're my zen, they're my meditation. I go out in the morning and water them and talk to them and watch the hummingbirds. And so anything I can put around me that makes me feel like I'm more out in nature than I really am, because obviously I have a cement and metal house, so it's not very natural, but there was a reason for that. I didn't want to do any work. So now I get to spend time with my plants. When we left the ranch, I sold a third, I stored a third, and I took a third to the rental. When we moved in here, I got rid of another third. I just have things out that give me joy. My mother's things that Morty and I collected over the years when we lived in Japan, and just things that I like to look at every day. So what brings me joy in this house is the fact that I can hang my paintings, I can look out the window. I mean, I could sit here all day and watch the hummingbirds. I'm very happy with doing that. I don't have to, like we talked about before, I don't have to be doing all the time. I'm a being. I be right here in my house, and I'm very happy. I don't get antsy. If I need something to do and the weather's bad or too hot, I'll read, or I'll go in the studio and paint. I don't have to, be busy all the time. Like, and when we were, I don't know, when I was young and when we started our careers, we had to be busy all the time. And then we had our families, and then we were busy all the time. I don't have to do that anymore. And it so replenishes my soul, and it gives me time to just meditate and be joyful and grateful and thankful that I get to spend my twilight years here.
Heading back to town, we next enter Deer Creek Village on the Cedar Edge Golf Course. When a builder tackles his own family home on a golf course, you know you're in for a treat. All the best of design and the latest architectural features are included in Julie and Tate Locke's home.
Well, my mom and dad bought this property with a series of properties in about 2005 or so. And we've built houses on many of them and sold the houses. And this one we decided that we wanted to buy from her. We liked the location and we liked the proximity to town. We were living in Delta at the time, and our kids were going to school up here because we used to live on Surface Creek Road. And so we decided we wanted to move back to Cedar Edge, and this was a perfect lot for us because of the proximity to the schools. And so we decided to build the house here.
Yeah, the kids can walk to school. It's a perfect location. We had built the house next door as a spec house, and it turned out great, and everybody loved that house. They loved the look of it. So we started looking at this lot. We liked it the most of the lots she had available, and if you look out the window upstairs from the girls' room, you can see the middle school where they're both going to be going this year. So it's just an ideal location.
Sort of to live in a, suburb, or what would you call this, development. This is my first time, and I like it. I'm very domesticated now. I have my little lot where it's fenced off, and I just have to tend to things within my own little boundary. And I don't have to worry about the outside world so much.
Well, and the kids have done a bunch of golf camps this summer, so they're getting into golf and take golf. So it's pretty nice to be able to walk out the back door and play 9 holes. It was a 9-month process of drawing plans. We drew our ideal house plans, and then we estimated it, and it was going to be way too much money, so we scrapped those. But it literally took 9 months to come up with the plans, and then 9 months to build it. So we just kept going back to the drawing board. We couldn't get the design right. Something didn't seem right because we knew we wanted the pool in the courtyard, but it was hard to fit the house and all of that within the bounds. So what happened is we were working with someone who suggested that we do the casita, which is the separate, guest house outside, and then the pergola to kind of bring it all together to attach it. So we've got this L-shaped structure, the casita, grounding that corner of the property. The pergola connects it, and as soon as we moved the guest room, which we knew we wanted one, out there, it all just came together. The flow was just perfect. And we talk about it all the time. We were saying this morning that we love the design of the house, that it just flows and it feels good.
We knew that we wanted to invest in a swimming pool, and that was in lieu of a retirement fund. And so we decided to spend the money on ourselves and our kids now, our family. We decided to spend the money on our family now while we have our kids in school, and we won't retire or whatever. We'll live in a bus.
We'll work till we're...
Right. But the point is, once we knew we had the pool, we wanted to design the house around the pool so it was a central feature, and we wanted privacy from the golf course because the tee box was right out there. And so it took a few iterations because our initial wish list, we wanted a library and a big wall of glass at the back, and it was unaffordable.
We were designing for a baby grand piano that we don't own.
Right.
I mean, I just shoot big, draw your dream house, and then we scaled it back from there. And a lot of people say, oh, it's a big house, it looks big, but I feel like we use every square inch. I feel like it's the perfect size for us.
We knew we wanted the kitchen in the back by the courtyard because it's kind of the center of the home.
Well, the kitchen seems to be the heart of the house. It's where we live most of the time. So we knew that we wanted to go big with the kitchen, and the first example is this island. It's a little bigger than even I would have imagined, but it works perfectly. I mean, you can seat 5 people here, and if the kids have friends over, they're always centered around the island, which is so nice. And even the workspace is just so functional, and I can see the outside. I can sit here and cook and look down the golf course. It's just beautiful.
And then we have this pantry area back here, which is kind of like another little mini kitchen where the girls do a lot of their baking.
One of the things I love about this extended kitchen is the mess can be back here, and we can entertain out there. I love being able to come in. The garage is right back here. So I can come in through the garage door, dump the mail, dump groceries, put them away here. And I wasn't sure if I'd like the open shelves, but I absolutely love it. I can see what I have, and same with the food, I can see what I have.
The casita out back serves as it's our guest room, or it can be a music room, reading room, yoga room. And it has a Murphy bed in it that folds down for the guests. It's a pool house at the same time. So we did definitely multi-function a few spaces in here, and that casita is the big one that we multi-function. It's very nice for guests that they feel like they're at a resort when they come here. We've been told that many times. And so it's too nice for guests because they keep coming back. And so we're
working on that.
Yeah, we're
putting pins under the mattress.
Yeah.
It was built for our family, you know. It was built with the idea that we only have so many years left before the kids are gone, and we want to live in a house that serves us all. And so when we started designing this house, we pulled the kids in and we said, what do you want? You know, what are your... So they gave us some ideas, and we all kind of had an equal say. So that's why it's so special, is because it was built by us for us. So it just feels like it's specialized to us, which we love. And the kids love it, and guests like it too.
The best part about this house is this central staircase. You walk into this central staircase, and you can go any direction because it has great flow from when you come into the garage. You can walk right in to the mudroom and pantry area, and then right into the kitchen.
This is the master wing. We absolutely love it. Those flower boxes out the window, the Tate and the girls made me for Mother's Day, and they planted them so nicely. So those are a nice addition. And then we decided the ceiling was wide at first, and it just wasn't working. It was too much white in this room. So we decided to go bold with a bright magenta, and we absolutely love it. It just gives a nice glow to the room. So it's a nice space. We enjoy it. So for the master, we decided that we wanted to do a marble-like tile. We love that feeling of staying in a nice hotel and with a nice tile. And then we came across this tile, decided to do it as an inset on the floor, just as a tile rug. So we really like the look of that. Just simple in here, white and black. It was Tate's idea to do the paint gray, and then a little bit of green in the ceiling. We love the shower. We got a rain shower head. And this, Margot loves the tile in here. She actually sleeps in the shower every night. So I think that's why she wanted to come in here, to show you her bedroom. And then we have a nice big walk-in closet that's just really comfortable, and we can store all of our stuff in there.
One of my favorite parts about my room is the space theme. So we each got to choose a color of paint for our rooms, and then a light fixture. So I chose the royal blue and the Sputnik light because it's a space theme. And then so over here, this is my desk area, and I just keep my microscope and like my paper and pencils and stuff, and my computer here. And I also love that I have a really good view outside of the sunset and stuff. I really like how we have our own rooms now. At our old house, we had to share a room, you know. So now they're separate, so we have our own space, but they're also connected, which is really nice. I like how much space I have and how I got to help design and plan with it. And I got to choose colors and things and get all my decorations. So that was fun.
It is nice to have the separate space. Guests feel like they have their space. The kids have the upstairs, you know, everybody's got some separate space, which is nice.
Yeah.
We love the design of the house. It just flows and it feels good.
As we wind around Cedar Edge's scenic rural roads, we turn onto Uinta and discover Maison de Terre, a bed and breakfast gem. After a day on the Grand Mesa, Cedar Edge guests have discovered this adobe retreat that is also the treasured family home of Terry and Marty Watts.
We were living in San Francisco and starting a family, and we just did not want to bring up our kids there. It was a great place to be single. So we decided to take our California money. We'd fixed up a fixture-upper there. So we took our California profits and started looking around the West. And Marty's dad had told us to check out the Grand Mesa because he loved it. So we started up from Grand Junction, came down into this valley, and we just fell in love with it.
I'm an industrial designer, and so design was what I was trained to do. I love to do it, and I traveled a lot, and Terry had traveled a lot. I lived in Brazil for 2 years and traveled in Europe for a winter, and Terry lived in France for, 3 years? And we had a pretty good idea of some diversity, and so that was part of what we were interested in. The other thing is that although my life practice is not totally environmentalist, I would consider myself an environmentalist. So I wanted to build something that was sound and green. And this is 80s technology, so things hadn't evolved to the point where they are right now, which is much, much better. But I kind of focused in on, we looked at straw bale, we looked at rammed earth, we looked at adobe, we looked at cordwood building, we looked at just literally hundreds of different ways that homesteaders build homes, log cabins. And we've actually focused in on rammed earth. And so we designed our house with a clay model because we figured that that might be the best way to actually see the shapes and the spaces. I had no architectural experience, almost no building experience, so we made a lot of mistakes. But we were guided by dozens and dozens of books that I read about building homes, building your own home, earth building, and designing. How do you design for your soul? And not just how do you design something to live in. It's how do you design something that will make you live better. And so all those were factors that went into the design, the materials. We felt that the materials needed to be something that was local as much as possible and indigenous, and that they would go back home when they got tired of being used.
Well, for instance, this room is actually just mud walls. And the reason it is because we didn't have any money to buy plaster. And so I thought, I really want this finished. So I just got mud and finished the walls with mud so that when we got plaster, we could do a real thin coat and it wouldn't cost very much. But then we ended up loving the mud, so we left it that way.
And the room it's always been a library. We've always loved books, and that was the intent. It would be just a place where we could have books and you could read, and it would be quiet, and there's some windows you can look out and have great views. And so that was, part of the design of the room, is that it was never intended to be a bedroom. It was just intended to be a library. The whole house is built out of scavenged materials. I mean, we scavenged the dirt from the ground. We made 10, 12,000 bricks for 3 summers to build the house. And every once in a while we'd hear about a log cabin being torn down. We'd go scavenge the logs from it. And we have beams that were taken from a factory in Denver
These beams.
Yeah, that are like, way too big for anything, but they were nice and they were cheap. That was the criteria, nice and cheap. And then we designed around it. Whatever we had kind of forced the design. So part of it was, thinking, but part of it was, how do we use this piece of material to make our house? And how can we make it nice?
And then we planned the upstairs to be the main living space because of the great views here, of course. So our kitchen and our living room are upstairs, which is unusual, but,
I felt that there needed to be like a transition. So first you look at the house and you know exactly where you're going to go in. There's no question about that. But before you actually go in, you go through a room that's outside. And then you go into another room that's a little bit more inside, but it's still kind of outside. And then you come into our foyer, which is like the grand room, which is the impression. This is the signature of the house. And there's a pond, so it's outside again, but it's all the way inside. The pond idea just kind of just solidified, partly because it's so dry here that I would wake up every morning with a dry throat and could hardly breathe. And I said, well, why don't we put a pond in here? It'll make it like the tropics. And so we did, and it made it like the tropics.
it makes a huge difference. It's really nice.
The humidity it's not excessive, but it evaporates probably 10 or 15 gallons a day of water into the house, and it just keeps things temperate. And it's a garden now, it's a little grotto that we can enjoy. And it's fun to sit and just meditate and be there and watch the fish. Its only use is how it makes you feel. But I think that's a real important part about a house, is how it makes you feel when you're inside. And so you come in and you flow, and then you flow upstairs, and the kitchen is really the hearth of the home. And it's warm up there, it's great views, there's plenty of space in the kitchen, and often there will be 5 or 10 people working in the kitchen, making a holiday meal or breakfast.
When we designed it together, we both come from cooking families. We love to cook. Our children all love to cook. We all cook together, so it had to be a big space. Marty made the big butcher block peninsula, which is just fantastic for preparing food. And then, of course, because of the views, we had to have the great deck off of it.
The style, I don't know, I just like the style, and I love building things. And so, part of the cabinets are utilitarian. We have a lot of space for ingredients, because we make almost everything from scratch. And so there are places for flour and wheat and corn and rice. Well, the pizza oven was it kind of grew out of the electric wood-fired stove that was built in 1925 and didn't quite cut it. And our daughter Hannah decided that she wanted to have a bread-making business. And so she started baking bread and selling it to our friends. And she was very, very successful doing that. She was making, 20 loaves a week? And making enough money to pay for college with it. And then one day the 78 or 80-year-old electric oven stopped working properly, and she had to deliver her bread. And I said, we just need to make a wood-fired oven. And that was what stemmed from it. It was really not something we thought about until we had a crisis. And then I fortunately we had the internet by then, and we started looking online, and I figured out how to build one, and 3 months later we had a wood-fired oven in our kitchen.
I guess one of the most distinctive things is actually the bathroom. Marty, we learned how to do a Moroccan Tadelact plaster, and so the shower's made of rock and Tadelact plaster, so that's been fun. And then we just tried to use lots of different materials. So one bedroom has stone floors, 2 bedrooms have dirt floors, which are actually kind of fragile. It's just mud that we've troweled, but it's nice. It's actually pretty soft. And so yeah, each one is different, just using materials that we could find.
I mean, people come in and touch our walls. They rub their hands on our walls, and they leave their fingerprints. That's okay. But it's part of the feeling, you make a connection with it. When you touch something, you make a connection with it. And so nothing is really sacredly untouchable. It's the texture and the shapes are there to make you want to be part of it. And so I hope that everybody feels good when they're in our home. I think a lot of it has to do with the building, the space, the materials, but I think a lot of it has to do with Terry and the people, and just we're excited to have people in our home.
Oh, I would say definitely so, because, we don't always agree on everything, but as far as building this and designing it, we were always in agreement, pretty much. And we both really enjoy having people in our home. We enjoy people. We love having our kids and other people's kids, and so, we're together in that we want it to be a place where people can come and feel really happy here.
We hope you enjoyed some of Cedar Edge's finest, homes and people. A little history, a little art, a little architecture, and lots of love and talent. We are grateful for the talent of the video's producer, David Jacobson, the drone and still photography of Phil Berghauser, as well as still photography of the homes by Nolan Thornberry. Our endless appreciation goes to our homeowners Charlene and Dick Hamilton, Amy Daniels, Terry and Marty Watts, and Julian Tate Locke. Their love and support for the Grand Mesa Arts and Events Center is invaluable. We also want to express sincere gratitude to our sponsors: Benson Brothers Aggregate, Cedar Edge Land Company, Deer Creek Village Realty, Heritage Title Company, Monk Lyles Real Estate Group, Janice Jones, Remax Mountain West, Greg and Christy Stratman, Remax Mountain West, Casabella Homes, Safeway of Delta, and Stars Guitars. Last year, each home also featured local artists, musicians, vintners, and chefs, and we hope to bring these aspects back to the 2021 Tour de Cedars, scheduled for Color Sunday, September 26th. We invite you to enjoy the fall color in Cedar Edge this year. A link to an online program and map is included with your purchase of this video, so you can drive by the beautiful Tour de Cedars homes. Thank you for your support of the Grand Mesa Arts and Events Center, and we hope you enjoyed this virtual experience of Tour de Cedars.